Hi, this is Dustin. In this video, I will show proof for No More Genocides, Part 2, with today's science and technology for real Star Trek with credible resources in the description. My background: I have 2 bachelor's degrees, 2 master's degrees, and I completed my PhD degree, except the dissertation, and instead wrote a book that is free on Amazon based on Yara Shahidi's hypothesis given in a speech at the Gleason Respect Awards on October 19, 2018. The hypothesis is that prevention will lead to equity, and that equity will lead to equality. This is a nonprofit channel, and everything said on this channel has a reference in the description. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments. Okay, let's begin. Trip Tucker told to Paul in Star Trek Enterprise, the pilot episode, that they got rid of wars, hunger, and disease by 2151. Counselor Deanna Troi says the same thing, but adds they got rid of poverty too in Star Trek First Contact. Providing solutions to this list made Star Trek happen in their fictional universe. Let's solve genocides. Propaganda promotes genocides because it pushes the narrative by making the enemy less than human, or by making them an animal. For example, in the former Yugoslavia, the people who went on to torture and kill their neighbors were bombarded with propaganda by state-controlled broadcasters demonizing Bosnia Muslims with the distorted news stories, like they were feeding Serbian children to the lions in the zoo. With this dehumanization, a genocide was conducted, and the U.S. and its allies were forced to stop it in the 1990s. As a way to combat propaganda was the school experiment in 1968 called Brown Eyes, Blue Eyes. In the elementary school, the teacher created a day-long propaganda lesson claiming that blue-eyed students were better than brown-eyed students. In the lesson, the blue-eyed students were treated better, given special privileges, moved to the front of the classroom, and couldn't play with the brown-eyed people because the blue-eyed people were superior. With the brown-eyed people, they were denied privileges, treated bad, moved to the back of the classroom, and had collars put on them to show how awful they were. In the experiment, blue-eyed people acted superior to the brown-eyed people by picking on them, telling on them, and one student suggested to the teacher to use violence with the yardstick if the brown-eyed people got out of line. Mind you, these are elementary school children, and before this lesson took place, most of the children in the class were best friends. On the next day, the lesson was flipped, and the brown-eyed students had all the privileges, and the blue-eyed students had to suffer the humiliations that the brown-eyed students had to experience the day before. In this round, the blue-eyed people felt such a loss when they lost their special significance as being the better students. In a way, the blue-eyed students lost their worldview. The kids from this experiment received a lesson in perspective taking. This means that the kids were forced to stand in another person's shoes by having them open new cognitive pathways for them to learn empathy. This lesson empowers children to see through the smoke and mirrors of propaganda and to form their own opinions on the basis of empathy. When people are armed with the knowledge on how propaganda works, then the power and influence of it is reduced. Now, if we teach students at an early age on how to recognize and turn off propaganda as a prevention tool from 2 years old to graduation, then genocide and dehumanization will be a thing of the past. And empathy will take its place towards humanity by putting themselves in someone else's shoes. This is the end of part 2. Live long and prosper.